It's coming up. I don't know if this will work or not. If it doesn't work on the iPad, I'll try and join. Hello, is anybody there?
Hello, yeah, in a couple of minutes we'll be joining you.
Okay, thank
a
you.
little bit early.
Cool.
Hi, okay, so at the moment you're muted. You just,
Are we muted? Are you sure?
oh, no, you're not. But
Okay.
let me just. Okay, so can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes? Hi, okay, so. Okay. At the moment you're muted.
Are we muted? Are you sure?
All right, so we're just waiting on a few, see if who's going to join us. We'll see if we get anyone joining us. So just be patient for a few minutes. I'll unmute you just now so I can talk to you. Hi.
Hi. We thought this was a large.
At the moment, because we're just waiting on people to join, so I may as well have a chat with you and see how you're doing.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
You're coming in from Netanya?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Wonderful. Good guess of mine.
And where are you?
So I'm in Prestwich in Manchester.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, so just to let you know, this is a public event. People will hear what we're talking about and so on. So just be aware of that. I'm just wanting to see if anyone else is going to join us. Thank you for joining.
That's okay.
Hopefully this will be very useful to you. So I'm just waiting on anybody joining us now.
We're just, yeah, we're happy just to wait quietly. We'll mute for the moment until you indicate that you're ready to start.
No problem at all. Hi, Nadine. I see we have Nadine here. I see that Joe and Julia are watching us on Facebook Live. If you can come into Zoom, that would be great. Hi, Nadine, how are you doing? Okay, wonderful. So I'm just waiting and see who's joining up. We've got some people here. We've got some people on Facebook, but I'd like everyone that can come on to Zoom to come on to Zoom, because this is where the real experience will be. And the more that join us on Zoom, the better experience we're going to have. So if you can get onto Zoom, the link is in the comments on my Facebook page. So you're welcome to press the link and join us on Zoom. We're going to be going through some interesting things today that will help us with the current situation that we're in. Everybody's joining us from maybe different parts of the world. And so the conditions and where you're coming in from might be a little bit different than others. But in any case, this will help you no matter what conditions you're under. So if you're in on Facebook Live, just give me a thumbs up, something so I know you're here. If you can come in, oh, here's Susan. That's fantastic. Susan joined us. If you can come into Zoom, then that's great. What I will ask you is please keep your cameras open in Zoom. And if you could put your name in the Zoom so everybody can see who you're called. So we've got somebody called iPad from Netanya, but if you could just stick your name in, then we will be able to interact with each other. So I see Gailey Luria joined us.
I'm not quite sure how to do that, actually.
Right, okay. So if we refer to you as iPad, then
you can refer to us as Mitch and Philippa.
Mitch, but if somebody else just sees you as iPad, don't be offended.
Fine.
Okay, so that's great from Mitch. We've got Susan, we've got Gailey Luria. If Gailey could turn on the camera, that would be wonderful. So we've got people joining us on Facebook. We've got people on Zoom. The more you can come on to Zoom, the better it will be, so that we can so that we can have really an interactive conversation. We only have here an hour, so we're here till 6 o'clock UK time, 7 o'clock Central European time, and that would be also till 8 o'clock Israel time. So I see we've got Joe, we've got Julia, just waiting to see if anyone else comes. If you can share, if you're on Facebook, share so that we can get more people. The more people we can get on here, the better. So share away so that we can get people onto Zoom. And if you're on Zoom, please open up your camera. And the more that we can get on, the more experience we'll have. I'm just going to give it a few minutes and then we're going to get started. So that's a shame that Joe can't seem to get on the Zoom. Have you downloaded the application to your phone or to your laptop, your computer? And the link is on my Facebook, and you'll be able to get that link and come straight in. So, okay, so we've got another person joining us. Pixel 3 is the name that I can see. So just open up your cameras, please, so that we can have a proper interaction as if we were in the same room. So if you can open up your cameras, that would be really good. So we've got Gaily Luria and we've got Pixel 3. If you just open up the cameras, then that would be excellent. I've muted everybody at the moment, so don't be surprised, just to stop the background noise time. Okay, so we're going to get started soon.
Sorry, Dov, I can't hear you.
Okay, so you can't hear me. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, okay. So Susan can't hear me.
We can hear you.
All right, wonderful, thank you. So Susan can't hear me. I'll just ask if you would check your microphones because everyone else seems to, your speakers, because everyone else seems to hear no problem. Dominic is on Facebook Live, but if you could come on to Zoom, Dominic, it would be a much better. Oh, wonderful. Here's Joe. Joe, is that you? Fantastic. So we've got Joe on iPhone 7. We've got Pixel. If Pixel can open up the camera, that would be very, very good. Dominic, if you can come on, you're on Facebook. If you can come on to Zoom, we'll have a much more lively. Susan, I keep muting you and you keep opening up, so I'm just going to mute you again.
Sorry, Dov. Can't hear a thing at the moment.
So I'm just keeping you all muted at the moment, just so that there's no background noise. Okay, wonderful. All right. So one more minute and we'll get and then we'll get started, because if you've turned up, then we'll do it with the people who have turned up, which is great. Barry Harold, fantastic. Can you come on to Zoom? If you can come on to Zoom from Facebook, it will be much richer experience. Okay. Gaily Luria, if you can open up your camera, would be super good. Okay. So 30 seconds and we'll be starting. Right, so we're joining from different parts of the world, and different parts of the world might be going through different experiences. Susan, you keep opening up. I'm going to mute you again. So please try and keep yourself muted at the moment. Eventually we'll open up. So Benziman, if you could open up your camera, that would be great. If Gaily could open up the camera, that would be great. So if you're on Zoom, please open up your camera. Darren, if you can come on to, Darren Fields, if you can come on to Zoom, that would be great. All right, people. So here we are. Thank you for joining me. I'm in Prestwich in Manchester. beautiful sunny day today it was. And we're all going through these interesting and different times. Change at the best of times is difficult. And especially during these times. This time there is no exception. Here, we're going through very, very different times. A lot of changes we're making to our routine in our life. And so hopefully what you're going to learn here tonight will help you cope, manage, get through these times that are very strange to us. A lot of us might be absolutely confined to our homes by law, and some of us are confined to our homes by choice or strong recommendation by the government. Everyone to their own regulations in the country that they're phoning in from. So, what the formula that we're going to be using tonight, you can see on my background. So it's FACE COVID, F-A-C-E COVID. Basically a nice anagram or that connects us to the COVID-19 virus, but we'll be able to face it. That's the whole idea. The more that we can actually come into contact with what's going on in our bodies and our minds and the worries and the stresses and so on, the more we'll be able to get through this with a much higher quality. So basically the first thing on the list is the F, and the F is focusing on what is in your control. So that's really important, because if we divide what's in our control and what's not in our control, we will be able to settle down and have a much higher quality life. Because a lot of the time when we're under stress and we're under a lot of pressure and we're under threat, which is what our body and mind is experiencing now, is that we're under threat, okay? It might be an invisible threat, but it's still a threat, is that our mind tends to focus and go on all these directions that are not within our control. So if we put it on the table and divide what's in our control and what's not in control, it's not in our control what this virus is going to do. It's really not in our control what the government is going to do. It's really not in our control the fact that they've closed down the shops and we're not allowed to go to parks or anything like that. These kind of things are not in our control. There's nothing much we can do about that. We live in a society where we've delegated our powers to the governments, and the governments decide what is good for us and what's not. So these kind of things are really not in our control. What is in our control, though, is how we respond to this situation. That's very much in our control. We can respond in a particular way that might be useful and healthy for us, and we can respond in a particular way that might not be useful in the long term, and it might not be very healthy for us. So, for instance, if we respond in a way that is going to avoid all the stresses and the thoughts that are coming into our head, and we start drinking alcohol or smoking cigarettes or panicking or going into, this is not really going to be useful at the end of the day and not really going to help us in the long term. But if we respond in a healthy way, in a responsible way, in a way that we can manage what's going on with us, then in the long term, we might be able to get through this in a reasonably good form. Another thing that we can't control is the type of thoughts that are coming into our head. We really can't control that. It's a natural reaction that we're going to worry. It's a natural reaction that we're going to think, what's going to happen to me tomorrow? It's a natural reaction that we're going to think, what's happening to my family and my friends? It's a natural thing to think that what's going to happen to my business or my income or my financial situation. These are thoughts that come into our head, whether we want them to come into our head or not. It's really not in our control. So if things are not in our control, let's kind of put them to the side for a minute, and I'll try and give you some tips this evening on what to do with these thoughts that are really not in our control. But at the end of the day, we have to let them go. There's nothing much we can do about it. Another thing that's not in our control is our feelings, our emotions, our sensations in our body. You might be experiencing at some points during the day certain feelings and sensations in your body. You might have a kind of very uncomfortable feeling. I know it is with me in my stomach. You might give a name to that. So you might call it anxiety. You might call it all sorts of stress. But that's just a name at the end of the day. What you're experiencing is some sort of sensation that might be pretty uncomfortable happening in your body. It might be in your shoulders, it might be in your back, it might be in your legs. But in some way or another, this kind of fear and threat is going to show up in your physical body. That is not in our control. Our whole brain is designed to put us into an emergency mode whenever we feel in threat. And that emergency mode, we actually feel it physically in our bodies, but it's not in our control. So at one point or another, we're going to have to let that go. And I'll touch on how we can do that a little bit later on this evening. So what is in our control? Well, very little, first of all. But what is in our control is our bodies. If I ask you to raise your hand, you'll be able to raise your hand. If you can sit up straight, you can sit up straight. If you want to stand up and move around or move your hands, whatever, this is really in our control. Now, it might seem very simple and almost trivial, but it really isn't. Our brains don't care virus, no virus, you're indoors, you're outdoors, you're at work, you're not at work. Our brain is not really interested in that. Our brain is interested in one thing only, and that is keeping us alive. That's what it's interested in at the end of the day. Our brain wants to know that we're going to live another day. And it looks at situations in one of two ways. We're safe or we're in danger. That's what it wants to know. Am I safe at the moment or am I in danger? If I'm in danger, it has an automatic process. It doesn't ask us what's going on, doesn't ask us to decide, and it doesn't ask us to think about it. It's an automatic process that says one of three things, more or less, to simplify. Either get the hell out of here, let's run away. If we can't do that, let's fight and see if we can live another day. And if we can't do that, we start to shut down, and hopefully things will move on because there'll be no reason to deal with us. Almost feigning death, if you like. So the thing is this, what are we in now? Well, if you look around yourself right now, the people that are on this workshop with me right now, really our experience is that we're all safe. We're pretty safe. Nothing within the next few seconds is going to come in and destroy us. In the next few seconds, we're pretty safe. Why do we not feel safe? Why do we feel threatened? Because our thoughts are coming in saying, well, wait a minute, there's some deadly virus going around that can come and hit me anytime. My family and friends are also at risk. My business is shut down. And there's lots of things going on that are really not the kind of way that I want to live. That's true. But does that mean that you're in imminent danger right now? No. It means there is some threat out there, but it's not an imminent danger this second. We have to distinguish between the two. There's a threat and there's imminent danger. If there's imminent danger, then you have to do something about it. If it's a threat, then you have to do also something about it, but it's a different thing. So if we want to feel a little bit safer and give signals to our brain that we're a little bit safer, then we want to do things that have safe signals to them. So one of them is sitting up straight. If we curl up in the fetus position, we're going to give signals that we're in danger. If we try it, sit up straight, let the circulation go around your body. Feel that you can move. You are free to move. So move, stretch, give a stretch, you know, feel the body moving. When we're feeling scared, we narrow in and we go all rigid. If we're a bit looser, let our muscles relax, we get less headaches, we feel a little bit more fluid. Flexibility is what's really important here, okay? So all this can get us down, and the more that it gets us down, the more that we're going to be enclosed, the more rigid we're going to get, and the more tightness we're going to feel. So first of all is loosen up. This is the focus on the things that are in your control. So it seems a bit strange, but believe me, the more you loosen up and the more you open your arms wider, the more signals your brain are going to get that, yeah, I know who's in control, and I know that I'm in a safe place right now. Okay? And that's what's really important, because the more that we can keep into that safe mode, the more that we'll be able to think straight, the more we'll be able to calculate, the more we'll be able to problem solve, the more that we'll be able to take care of the functions that we need to take care of in our daily lives. If we go into that dangerous, scared, threatening mode, we're going to get into a situation where we're going to either collapse down, we're not going to be able to function properly, things will start breaking up around us, and that's not the road that we want to take down. All right? So that's first of all about focus on what's in your control. The next thing is acknowledge your thoughts and feelings. So I've just spoke about all these thoughts and feelings that we've got, and most of them are pretty uncomfortable. We're going to get these distressing thoughts coming in and worry. And what we're worried about, something in the future. Okay? So something that's not really happened yet. I'm worried about somebody getting infected. Somebody's got infected, so I'm worried about the fact that whether they'll survive or not. But it's all in the future. I'm worried about people that I can't see. I, for instance, am not allowed to visit my elderly mother. So yeah, I've got thoughts coming in about what's happening to her. Is she okay? I feel feelings and emotions. I feel upset. I feel sad. I've got expressions of that in my body. So I'm getting this kind of uncomfortable feeling in my stomach. I get things across my chest. Sometimes you can't sleep very well. So we have feelings and we have emotions and we have things happening to us and we have thoughts that are distressing. So what do we do about that? Well, the kind of natural thing that we want to do is we want to use that emergency system that I spoke about before, and we want to apply it to this. This is kind of a thing that we want to do, intuitive. So we want to either run away from that, right? If we can escape from all that stuff. So we might want to distract ourselves or whatever. We might want to start fighting it, saying, no, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. I'm positive thinking. Everything's going to be coming up roses. We'll get through this. This will be fine. But at the end of the day, we're kind of either trying to fight or flight it. But we find that that doesn't work, because when we go to sleep, our thoughts start, churning us again. We start feeling that feeling again. So the best thing to do is to leave those tools behind, these fight and flight, and rather understand that these are natural, normal thoughts that we're going to have. So let's just slow down for a bit and acknowledge that we've got these thoughts and acknowledge that we've got these feelings. And one of the best ways to do it is to acknowledge it out loud. I am having a thought that my mother might be missing me. Okay? Instead of me saying my mother's missing me, I will have a thought that my mother's missing me. I am having a thought that I might get infected. I am having a thought that My family member might get infected. Whatever your thought is, precede it with the words, I'm having a thought that, and then add the thought on. Okay? What that does is it distances the thought from you. And it gives you that little bit of space in that room to understand whether this thought is something that's useful for you or something that's not useful for you. Similar to sensations in your body. I'm feeling a sensation that's very uncomfortable in my tummy. Not, I've got anxiety. Because your brain will listen to you and says, oh, we've got anxiety, right? So we have to deal with that. But if we say, I'm having a sensation that's very uncomfortable in my tummy. I'm having a sensation that I've got tension in my shoulders, and so on. It will distance it slightly from us and give that space that we can decide, or your brain can decide, is this something that is useful to you or something that's not? And it allows us to accept and be willing to experience these uncomfortable experiences. And at the end of the day, this is what's going to get us through it. Because if our brain realizes that we are willing to experience the messages that it's giving us, so we're willing to experience these uncomfortable thoughts, we're willing to experience these uncomfortable feelings and sensations, our brain will settle down. When we're willing to experience it, it settles down. When we're fighting it, it's going to louden the message and louden the message. I'll give you a little metaphor that will kind of maybe prove that to you. So up until now, those of you that are wearing glasses probably don't feel them. But if I say, are you feeling your glasses on your nose now? Probably feel your glasses on your nose or on your face. If I ask you, do you feel any clothes on your neck or whatever, your hair on your neck? Up until now, you probably didn't feel it, but now you do. Why is that? Because as soon as we focus our brain on something, we start to feel it more. Because our brain works on change. As soon as there's change, it wants to know what's going on. When there's no change, it settles down and ignores it. So when our brain knows that we're willing to accept those thoughts, we're willing to accept those feelings, it says, okay, there's a driver on the bus here, and they seem to know what they're doing because they're willing to accept these thoughts and feelings. What we want to add to that is, once we've accepted our thoughts and feelings, we want to be able to actually do something of action that's important to us. So whatever we're doing, we want to be able to engage in what we're actually doing. So even if we're talking about engaging in the fact that we're willing to accept our thoughts and feelings, I want you to be able to learn to engage in it. So we'll do it now as a little exercise. Now, one of the things that's missing in our lives at the moment, most likely for a lot of us, is physical contact. When we don't have physical contact because we're in isolation, this can be quite difficult, because as human beings, we're used to having physical contact. It helps soothe us when we have physical contact. We know from even when you're a fetus in the mother's womb that fetuses touch their faces a lot. And this is because physical contact, even by touching our face, is really important. So when we're told now we're not allowed to touch our faces, this can bring extra distress to us. So what I'd like you to do just now is this. I want you to put one hand on your chest and one hand on your tummy, just as an exercise. I know it sounds a little bit strange, but go with me on this. And just for a second, let's count, 15 seconds. That's all we're going to do, is just feel that almost self-soothing hug. Now keep it there. What I want you to do now is to begin to acknowledge the thoughts that you're having while you're doing this. you're self-soothing, and you might have thoughts that are coming in that are maybe uncomfortable, disturbing, you're worried. I just want you to acknowledge that they're there. Just first of all, notice what thoughts are coming in. Maybe you've got pleasant thoughts. That will also be worth noticing. So just notice what thoughts are coming in right now. I don't want you to do anything with the thoughts. I don't want you to think they're bad thoughts or good thoughts. Just hold yourself in this position and notice what thoughts are entering your head. Very good. So continue doing this. What I want you to do now is continue to soothe yourself. I want you to notice what sensations you're having in your body. Just notice what your sensations you might be having in your body inside. It might be pleasant, but it might be also unpleasant. Whatever it is, don't want you to do anything with it or say it's good or bad. Just notice that it's there. Just notice if there's anything in your head, in your face. Notice if there's anything there in your shoulders. Notice the feeling of your hands on your chest and your tummy. Notice if there's anything in your arms. Just notice it. The more you learn to notice these things and just sit with it, the more your brain will acknowledge that you acknowledge it. This is a very important skill to have. Notice if there's anything in your legs, shins, your feet. Wonderful. And just engage in what you're doing. Be present with what you're doing right now. Sometimes it's very difficult to be present. Our mind wanders. We feel that it's very difficult just to sit down and, in inverted commas, do nothing. And if you think of it, the world population is in isolation only for a short time so far. And people are doing things, they're doing more creative things. They're talking to their children, they're beginning to sing on the balconies. It's amazing that as soon as it's been taken away from us, a lot of peripheral stuff that we're used to being so busy with, all of a sudden we start doing things that are very sociable. This is the paradox of this whole event. The more we're isolated, the more we experience that we want to become more sociable. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to comments and questions so that we have enough time to answer you. So I'm going to open up the microphones, and actually what we'll do is this. If anybody has a question, they can open up their own microphone and they can ask me. Hold on, let's just see. You're all unmuted, so don't all speak at once. Is there anybody that particularly wants to ask something or talk about something? We'll see if I can address it. So you can unmute yourself and you can ask a question, or you can comment on what we've done so far, or ask something that to clarify something. Go for it. Anything?
Unmute.
Yeah, Michael, you got a question? You
Away from here, so other people.
have a question? Okay. What do you see? Oh, it's gone. Anybody else? Anybody on Facebook that wants to ask something or clarify something? Yeah,
I
go.
didn't mean to go. I just pressed the wrong button.
All right, so that's fine. Just give, because a little bit delay sometimes on Facebook, so I'm just giving people a chance if they want to ask something on Facebook. Yeah, Michael, you want to ask something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, one thing I struggle with is one can, it was very helpful what you described, and I sort of understand the concept of dealing with the thoughts and recognizing that the thoughts just come randomly into one's head and that therefore they shouldn't drive the way one is. And I understand, and you may come on to this, that there may be some techniques such as, you know, whether it's distraction or other things that can help us move away from those thoughts. The struggle I always have is that at some point in this process, sort of reality sort of intrudes once again, and one can have felt a degree of success in managing the thoughts, but one always, I find one comes back to having to deal with the reality. To some extent, it's a little circular. I probably didn't express that well, but you
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. And what you're saying is it's really, really important. And that is this. A lot of us think regarding thoughts, but also emotions and feelings, that we can do certain techniques and they will go away. A lot of people that come for me for therapy will say, you know what, I want you to take my anxiety away. And I tell them, well, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is I cannot take your anxiety away. Nobody can, right? The good news is there are ways to manage your anxiety and do things in your life that are important, even though you have anxiety. That's the truth, okay? But we cannot take away things that, and you know what? Even if I had the power of taking it away, which I don't have, I would choose not to, because there might be some really important messages in your anxiety that if you didn't have it, would be dangerous for you, all right? So getting back to your thoughts, and we'll do an exercise in 2 minutes for everybody watching and everybody joining us on Facebook that will help us with these disturbing thoughts that Michael brought up. And that is that we will get, our brain is made to generate thoughts. For us, sometimes they might be disturbing, they might be distressing. There is a technique that we can do, which I'm going to show you now, but it doesn't take those thoughts away. They'll come back again. But what it will help us do is manage these thoughts. In other words, will help us not to be controlled by these thoughts. It will help us not to be hijacked by these thoughts, which is what happens a lot of the time. So for instance, if we all raise our right hand, just like we were in court, just try this. I know there's weird things that I do, but go with me on this and say to yourself out loud, I cannot raise my right hand. Okay, so lift your right hand and say out loud, you're all on mute, I think, so no one will hear you. I cannot raise my right hand. Okay, very good. So what we can see from that small demonstration is that we can have a thought that says one thing, but we can behave in a completely different way. We do not have to behave the way our thoughts tell us, right? That's just a simple fact. What we can do, though, is a simple brain exercise that will help us manage these difficult and sometimes very distressing thoughts. So I'd like to invite you to join me in this little guided exercise. I will guide everybody on Facebook and on Zoom. You can do it by closing your eyes if you wish, but if you don't want to close your eyes because that makes you feel uncomfortable, I would ask you just to gaze at a spot on the floor. If you can, just concentrate on the one point while I take you through this guided imagery to help you with these thoughts. So you might, I'm not guaranteeing you're not going to feel uncomfortable because I'm going to ask you to bring up these thoughts that are worrying you. I'm going to ask you to do something with them. So there's no guarantee that you might feel a little uncomfortable, but if you do feel uncomfortable, then this will be a great exercise to show you how to manage that. So find a comfortable position and either close your eyes or fix your eyes on some spot that might be comfortable for you in front of you. I want you to imagine that you're at the side of a gently flowing stream. Okay, so if you've ever been to a river, stream, you hear that water going by. I want you to imagine that you're sitting by the side. I want you to just kind of look around in your imagination and see, maybe it's a beautiful day. You can hear the water streaming by. You might hear other voices. You might be on your own. You just want to get yourself comfortably settled in that by the stream. Wonderful. Just get yourself comfortable. And hanging over the stream, there are these big trees, beautiful, beautiful trees. They're kind of giving shade over the stream on a hot day. And ever so often, a leaf falls off the tree and kind of floats down the river, the stream. Another leaf will fall down and slowly kind of pass you by on the stream. And you've noticed that every so often a leaf floats down from the tree and kind of settles itself on the surface of the water and flows down with the flow of the stream. Now, what I'd like you to do now is to notice your thoughts that are coming into your head. Just not doing anything, just notice what happens. You might not have any thoughts at this point, which is also good. And then just keep noticing the leaves falling off the tree and floating down the stream. But you might also have a thought that pops into your head. It might be a nice thought, it might be an unpleasant thought. Whatever thought it has, I want you to pop it on one of the leaves. So just kind of turn your thought into a vision of words and pop it on one of the leaves. Just allow it to settle down on a leaf and then watch it float down the stream past you into the distance. I don't want you to do anything with it. I don't want you to make it float away. I don't want you to make extra leaves fall. I just want you to notice what happens naturally. A leaf will fall into the water. You'll place this thought, whatever it is, a nice thought, not nice thought, onto the leaf and just watch it float on by. It might float quickly, it might go very slowly, or it might just kind of hang around for a bit. Whatever happens is fine. Now, I want you to do this regardless whether the thoughts are negative or positive or pleasant or unpleasant. whatever kind of thought you have, just place it gently on one of those leaves and watch it going by. And just do that in your own time. Now, if your thoughts stop coming, then I just want you to watch the leaves going by anyway. Ever so often, one will fall down from the tree and float down the river. And sooner or later, your thoughts will start up again. That's what our brain does. Allow the stream to flow at its own rate. Don't speed up water. You're not trying to wash any leaves away or anything. All you're doing is putting your thoughts on the leaves and watching them in their own time flow down the river. Now, your mind might say at one point, what is this Dov guy going on about? What's this with the leaves, you know? This is a bit stupid. Or maybe I can't seem to be able to do this very well. If you get thoughts like that, now you know what to do. Stick them on the leaves. And just watch these thoughts going down too. Sometimes a difficult feeling will arise. Maybe you'll start feeling a little bored. Maybe you'll start to get a little bit impatient. Just acknowledge that. Say to yourself, look, I'm having a feeling that I'm getting a bit bored. I'm having a feeling that I'm getting a bit impatient. And then place these words on a leaf too. From time to time, you might find that your thoughts will hook you in and try to pull you out of this exercise. Your mind might wander, woof, and all of a sudden you're in a different story, a different place. That's fine. You might lose track of the water completely. That's also fine. This is normal and it's natural. And it will keep happening again and again. And as soon as you realize that's happened, gently acknowledge it and then start the exercise again. The leaves falling down in the water and you placing your thoughts on it. I want you to be able to continue this for a few minutes and practice it as much as you possibly can. And you will find through time that your mind will be able to start coping a lot better with those thoughts. They won't go away. They might not be any less distressing, but you will have less hijacking going on. It'll have less influence on your behavior. Okay, we're coming up to the end of tonight's workshop. I do this workshop every 2 days, different types of things. We've got a lot more of the face COVID formula to go through yet. I'm going to open up you again. If anyone has any comments, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on Zoom, if there's something that you want to ask or clarify, or just like Mike did earlier, then you're welcome to do that now. I'll give you a few more minutes because sometimes there's a little bit of delay on Facebook. So anyone got anything they want to say? Yeah, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on. Anybody? Has it been useful, not useful? You've enjoyed it? What's it been like for the last 50 minutes or so?
It's been interesting and in part relaxing. So I'd like to congratulate you for injecting some relaxation. One question I guess I have is this exercise in which we followed our thoughts.
Yeah.
Actually, grapples with the thoughts, is that preferable to grapple with the thoughts as opposed to attempting to distract oneself from them by doing something completely different, like study, for example? Or maybe it's gam vagam. Maybe both have their ups and downs or whatever. I don't know.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful question. You have been amazing tonight. So that's an amazing question, and I can answer it pretty well. Generally speaking, the more we try to distract ourselves from the thoughts, the more the louder they will get, and the more frequent they will get. And this is what we've learned from studies and research. It's not just me making this up. Nothing that I'm teaching you tonight has not been clarified under scientific research and repeated. So yeah, it's distraction, generally speaking, is not a good thing. It might work now and then, but generally speaking, we need to engage with our thoughts. We need to engage with our feelings. We need to engage with our body sensations. So somebody's saying, for instance, I'm struggling to give anything longevity. Everything feels so uncertain, and absolutely correct. At the moment, especially at the moment, life in general, okay, if we want to get philosophic here, is uncertain, right? Life is uncertain, and life has certain risks attached to it. And I'm talking about a normal, peace, healthy times. When we go out our houses into the street, we're working according to risk. And that itself has its own distress. Under these times that we're living, there is extra distress because we have an uncertainty and a threat that's hanging around. And it's a threat that's very real. And we have to acknowledge that if the threat is real, our brain is going to try and protect us. But sometimes it protects us without asking us. And so we have to sometimes come in and kind of recorrect and fine tune what kind of actions it's taking. And that's fine tuning is what I've tried to teach you tonight. In other words, we need to first of all look around us when our brain is going into threat mode and say, look, am I in real danger this very second? The chances are that it's no. If you can ask that question, it looks like it's no, right? If you were, you probably wouldn't even be able to ask that question, right? So first of all, asking that question and looking around you. Second of all, coming into your body and moving it and touching it and feeling it gives your brain that sense that, okay, there's a driver in the seat. It brings it into much more certainty. Answer for Joe there. So the certainty is, what have I got control on this second? And the easiest thing and the most portable thing that we have control on is our body. Okay? We can use our breathing. I haven't taught you breathing tonight. Maybe I'll do it next time. But we can have that feeling of touch. We can have that feeling of movement that's in our control. And that helps our brain deal with the uncertainty. So yeah, we will struggle with it. But what I suggest to you is let go of the struggle. Give yourself that self-soothing. Let go of the struggle. Be vigilant that there is something that's dangerous out there. We have to go by all the regulations and all the things that we need to do. Be responsible and careful, yes. But also dealing with the uncertainty is what we can do with our present moment right now, is giving yourself the self-soothing and understanding that at this particular moment in time, yeah, everything's all right. Okay? Engage in what you're doing. Try to feel what it's like when you've got your hands on you. Try to notice those thoughts and try to acknowledge the feelings that are in our body. When we do all that, our brain says, okay, it's not as uncertain as I've thought up until now, because you've given it signals, set up straight, that there is a safe situation going on, even though outside in the wider circles, there is danger. Now, I can tell you this from my army experience, because in the army, you train and you train and you train and you train, right? So when you go into a battle, a war situation, and the whole world is coming down and death is almost imminent at certain times, because you've trained, because you have a situation where you know certain things are familiar, then your brain also kicks in and says, okay, you know, I know what to do in this situation. I'm going to jump here, I'm going to hide here, I'm going to do this here, I'm going to shoot here. It has a certain familiarity. And that's what I'm asking you to do also. When we practice this, our brain says, you know what? I know what to do in a situation like this now. And we find the more people that practice this, the more that they will feel that they can manage what's going on much easier than those that this is all brand new to. So what you're learning tonight is really state-of-the-art skills in the world of behavioral psychology. Even though they seem a little bit strange sometimes, and they might seem a little bit kind of weird even, it has a lot of neurology underneath, a lot of behavioral stuff going on underneath. And the more we practice it, the more we'll feel that certainty, that safety that's coming through. Anyone else got a question on Facebook, a comment? Did you like it? You didn't like it? Share this if you can, so that we can get even more people on Wednesday. Wednesday at 5 o'clock, we'll be doing another English one. If anyone's got any comments or any more questions, I've had great questions tonight. If anybody's got anything else, did that answer you, Joe? Did that help? Give me a kind of a thumbs up if that helped you. If it didn't, tell me. If there's anything else that anyone wants to ask. Otherwise, we're going to just kind of call it a night. And I appreciate everybody joining, and hopefully it's been helpful. See you on Wednesday if you're interested in joining me again. Have a good night, everybody. Keep healthy, keep safe, and take care.